Bond did not even reach the gun before the internet treated 007 First Light like a political crime scene instead of an actual game. Specifically, Steam users are arguing for warning labels around DI and politics, which is already absurd before anyone even reaches the useful question of whether the game plays well enough. Players should be asking whether IO Interactive can turn James Bond into a good game instead of another franchise costume. Normally that means talking about stealth, shooting, missions, gadgets, driving, price, performance, and whether Bond actually feels like Bond. Instead, the forum conversation became the usual gaming sewer, where every screenshot gets dragged into politics before anyone can ask about controls. Steam did not invent this behavior, but it gives the behavior a room, usernames, badges, and enough oxygen to act important. Already, the drama tells us something ugly about modern gaming culture. People claim they want better games, then reward the dumbest conversations around them. Officially, 007 First Light is a Bond origin story from IO Interactive, the studio best known for Hitman. Importantly, that premise means players are not starting with the finished legend, the polished killer, or the fully formed movie icon. Younger Bond should be rougher, less perfect, and still becoming the man everyone recognizes, otherwise the word origin means nothing. Some complaints act like Bond must arrive fully built, emotionally laminated, and protected from any new interpretation that was not approved by someone's childhood. That is not respect for tradition, that is nostalgia pretending to be law. People say they want strong male characters, but then panic when a male character needs time to earn strength on screen. Apparently, character growth is only acceptable when the character finished growing before the title screen. Meanwhile, the actual game is facing a real identity problem that forum rage keeps hiding. Directly under the noise sits the buyer problem nobody wants to solve: how much of this project is actually visible, playable, and proven. Most viewers do not need a sermon about civilization, they need a map of what is known and what is still marketing. Confirmed information tells us the studio, the origin premise, the franchise, and the public forum reaction. Unconfirmed assumptions begin when users turn casting tone or modern framing into proof of hidden sabotage. Separating those two piles is the whole job of a useful commentary video. Otherwise, the script becomes another fog machine with jokes taped to it. Receipts should stay simple: show the store page, show the forum claim, show the warning label argument, then explain what each one proves and what it does not prove. Forum evidence proves that people are fighting over politics before broad gameplay judgment exists. Screenshots do not prove the game is good. Likewise, receipts do not prove the game is bad. Useful analysis lives in that uncomfortable middle, where loud certainty has to sit down and wait for facts. There, the audience can understand the scam inside the argument. Panic merchants sell fear by pretending every change is contamination. The other side sometimes sells defense by pretending every critic is stupid. Neither side helps the player who just wants to know whether the game is worth buying. Practical viewers deserve cleaner work than that. Give them the claim, the source, the limit, and the missing evidence. Leave the tribal victory lap for people who think shouting is research. Use the drama as the doorway, then walk into the game. Ultimately, the cleanest video respects the viewer's time, explains the mess, and still laughs at the circus. Mechanically, IO is moving from Agent 47, a quiet blank slate built for systems, into James Bond, one of the most defined heroes in popular culture. Hitman works because 47 can be almost anything the mission needs, from ghost to clown to waiter with a fiber wire. Bond cannot be that empty, because Bond comes with charm, danger, style, arrogance, sex appeal, violence, wit, and decades of audience expectation. Therefore, the real risk is not whether the game includes a character some forum user dislikes. Rather, the real risk is whether IO can make Bond feel alive instead of making Hitman wear a tuxedo and smile for marketing. Stealth and shooting are the two main pillars. Gadgets and mission design are the proof that this is spy fantasy, not just a licensed action product with expensive music. Performance and price are the gatekeepers, because even a famous name becomes insulting if the PC version runs badly or the content feels thin. Writing and dialogue are the dangerous parts, because young Bond can sound sharp, charming, and dangerous, or he can sound like a committee-wrote swagger on a whiteboard. Those questions affect every buyer more than forum slogans do. Yet outrage buries them because one angry label is easier to sell than 10 minutes of honest analysis. Ironically, the louder the forums scream about DEI, the less pressure the studio feels to answer harder questions about mechanics, mission freedom, enemy AI, and launch polish. Outrage can become a smokescreen for a mediocre product, because everyone argues about ideology while the gameplay quietly escapes inspection. Studios benefit when critics fight each other, instead of asking whether the thing on sale is worth the money. Websites benefit because forum chaos becomes easy content. Creators benefit because anger makes thumbnails faster than research does. Algorithms benefit because conflict keeps people clicking. Consumers lose because the real buyer guide gets replaced with tribal noise. Consider the warning label demand for a second, because it sounds serious until you touch it. Store pages already show trailers, screenshots, descriptions, tags, developers, publishers, system requirements, and marketing material. Previews already exist before launch, reviews arrive around release, and refunds exist when a buyer makes a bad call. Nobody is being dragged blindfolded into a bond purchase and forced to salute a secret agenda at checkout. Calling for DI warning labels is not consumer protection in this case. It is emotional packaging for people who want normal creative choices treated like hazardous waste. Reality does not need to knock before entering the room. Criticism, however, still belongs at the table. Mocking Steam panic does not mean IO gets a crown, a shield, or a free pass. Maybe the story is weak. Perhaps the missions are narrow. Possibly the shooting feels stiff. Conceivably, the young Bond angle feels fake. Arguably, the price is too high. Potentially, the PC version needs patches. Every one of those complaints would be useful if backed by examples. Unfortunately, woke has become the cheapest weapon in gaming because it replaces examples with a siren. Female character appears and the siren goes off. Another character is not white and the siren goes off. Someone changes a familiar formula and the siren goes off. Soon the word stops meaning anything beyond, "I noticed something and became angry." Real criticism names the scene, the line, the mechanic, the mission, or the design choice that damaged the experience. Lazy criticism points at a face, repeats one slogan, and waits for applause from people who already arrived angry. 007 history makes the panic even weaker. Actors changed him, eras changed him, writers changed him, games changed him. Audiences changed him too, even when they pretend their favorite version was carved into stone. Tradition matters, but tradition is not a museum cage where every future version must salute one old poster forever. Still, reinvention cannot become an excuse to flatten Bond into a generic spy with a premium license. Developers should respect danger, competence, elegance, tension, humor, and the cold edge that makes Bond different. Origin stories can add rough edges without deleting the identity. Fairness means waiting for the game itself, then judging what the player can see, hear, control, and test. Scene by scene, the writing has to prove whether it entertains or lectures. Mission by mission, the design has to prove whether players can improvise or only follow glowing instructions. Fight by fight, the combat has to prove whether Bond feels precise or merely expensive. System by system, the PC version has to prove whether it respects the machine running it. Price by price, the package has to prove whether the famous logo is carrying weak value. These are the actual review lanes. Culture war noise drags the audience off the road and into a ditch. Weekly outrage needs a new body, and Bond is useful because everyone recognizes the name. Last week, another game fed the furnace. Next week, another face, trailer, score, haircut, skin tone, menu option, or female jawline will be offered to the same machine. Truth is optional in that machine. Movement is mandatory. Famous franchises make perfect fuel because they bring memory, suspicion, loyalty, and resentment into one room. Consequently, this kind of forum fight becomes a story before the game becomes a real public verdict. Call it woke, put fire behind Bond, and let the comments chew themselves. But that video is already crowded before it exists. Sharper coverage asks why gaming discussion has become so broken that people fight over labels before asking whether the product is good. Better commentary starts with the receipt, explains the claim, checks the evidence, and then returns to gameplay. This angle gives viewers a rant with structure instead of another sermon made of smoke. Facts are the spine. Cynicism is the blade. Together they cut better than another 10-minute performance about how civilization fell because a video game forum got weird again. Ignore the forum tags, and watch the unedited gameplay when it appears. Stop letting slogans choose your library. Do not buy the game because defenders call every critic toxic. Also, do not skip the game because angry strangers discovered a new label for old anxiety. Look at the missions. Watch the stealth, check the shooting, study the performance, compare the price, judge the writing, then decide like an adult with a wallet, not a hostage with a comment section. A game can be unwoke and still be boring, broken, short, shallow, or overpriced. Equally, a game can include modern casting choices and still deliver strong missions, sharp systems, and real style. Both truths can exist without the internet needing a group seizure. James Bond has survived assassins, crime bosses, traitors, secret labs, exploding bases, and villains with speeches longer than the Geneva Convention. Now, his hardest mission is surviving a Steam forum before launch without thousands of adults turning screenshots into a political autopsy. Once Bond ordered a vodka martini. Today, he needs a hazmat suit before opening his own forum page.